Everyone, I'm Larry Myers. Welcome to Springfield, Illinois, and welcome to the Springfield Mile. The stretch run for the AMA Grand National Championship Dirt Track Circuit is underway. When we leave Springfield, 17 races will be in the books with only 5 left to run. Now, this past month has been a busy one. 8 races, ending with a rare mile doubleheader here at Springfield. Coming into the first race of that mile doubleheader, there were 5 riders grouped within 26 points of the championship lead. Here's what happened in race number 1. Fast qualifier Scott Parker chose the outside pole position. You're about to see that was a mistake. Through corners 1 and 2, Scott Parker, number 1, went toward the back of the pack. Davey Camlin, being chased by Kevin Atherton, leads the pack out of corner number 2. Now watch as they go down the back straightaway. This is what mile racing is all about. Camlin, Atherton, Moorhead, and King. Look at the draft action all the way from 3rd place. Steve Moorhead takes over the front runner's position. Camlin, meanwhile, slid all the way back to 4th. Joining the front trio was Rich King. Out of corner number 4, Moorhead, Kevin Atherton, Rich King, and here comes Scott Parker. He made the draft work on the back chute. The crowd knows what mile dirt track racing is all about. Steve Moorhead, now you remember him? We have a bike, Cam. Check this out. He's right next to the wall. See all those riders going by him? Moorhead unfortunately suffered a faulty coil. His bike was not firing properly, and Moorhead was out of the mix. Later in the race, it started to boil down to a 4-rider, 3-rider, if you will, battle. That is Will Davis that has joined the fray, but watch what happens to Will. You don't want to make a mistake on this mile, especially in the late stages. Now keep your eye on old Winkin' Will. He's rider number 21. As they head through the next set of corners, Will be on the outside. Now watch this. He's going to lose traction. The rear wheel comes around. That was close, folks, to disaster. Will drops way back in the pack. They're set up now for the stretch run, and it boiled down to this. Davey Camlin, Kevin Atherton, Joe Kopp has joined the mix. He's the rider in the red jersey, rider number 43. At this point, all riders involved know where they want to be coming out of corner number 4. The trick is to outguess your opponent. Do you use the draft or do you want to lead? It is pretty much defined and set up by the time you go into 3 through 4. You come out and head for the checkered flag. Camlin chose to lead, or did he? He may have been a victim. In any event, coming out of corner number 4 is Camlin, King, Atherton, and Kopp, and that, folks, is the way they finish. Now, the rider that was hurt the most in this championship points battle, Steve Moorhead, as we showed you earlier, got minimal points for his participation. Camlin, King, Atherton, Kopp, Schnabel. Let's talk to Davey Camlin and find out if he really wanted to lead out of 4.
After the heat race, you know, I come up a few feet short on Scotty, you know. So Skip and I talked about it. We changed the gearing. We said, let's lead it off of 4 if we can. You know, you got to get there, and we did. And, you know, Kevin, I don't know who got second, but I didn't see anybody, so it worked.
Joining me for today's telecast, Bill Werner, and yes, it is the same Bill Werner that builds the motorcycles for Scott Parker, the 6-time Grand National champ. We're just borrowing Bill today for the telecast. You and I are going to talk some points. Yesterday, the first half of this doubleheader, it put a crimp in a few of the contenders' plans.
Well, it was a tough day for a lot of the riders, but first, let's acknowledge the FBI. Most notably, Dave Camlin, the fast boy from Illinois. Between here and DuQuoin, he's become one of the dominant mile racers. But let's check on the champion.
And Jay Springsteen. They are there because they are riding motorcycles different than the bikes that they started with earlier today. They switched bikes. They were penalized having to go to the back row. Springer, as a matter of fact, is riding a motorcycle that was loaned to him by the guy that is immediately in front of him, Scott Parker, and the guy sitting next to me, Bill Werner. Why was that, Bill?
Well, he blew his bike up after qualifying, and he needed one. He's a friend. That's the least we could do.
Looks to me like you loaned him the wrong motorcycle. He and Camlin are well in front of Scott Parker. Parker's in a battle for 3rd. Now, Camlin is riding the same motorcycle that he rode in race number 1 and won with in race number 1. Earlier, it broke a valve spring. He had to practice a different bike, but they did get it repaired. That is the bike that Camlin is on. 30 years ago, 23 of the TCR racing team, then Kevin Barnes, rider number 89. Joe Kopp turned in a great performance in race number 1. He's on the front row, along with Jay Springsteen on a borrowed motorcycle, borrowed it from Bill Werner and Scott Parker. And rounding out row number 1, rider number 80 is Rich King. Now, to qualify for the main event, you run heat races and semifinals. They took place earlier today. The lineup for race number 2 is almost identical to race number 1. You see Jim Sumner and Willie McCoy made it into the second race, and dropping out were Mike Hacker and Chance Darling. Start about to get underway, and as I say that, the light went green, and whoa, Springsteen got a terrible start. He's all the way at the back of the pack as the field enters corner number 1. Boy, Bill, he was caught off guard.
Yeah, he must have lit the wheel up and then stalled it and tried to get it back.
On board was Scott Parker. We're with number 1, folks, as we thunder down the back chute for the first time today. Look at how close they are to the wall. They're all tucked in as they head into corner number 3, just off the throttle a little bit at one point, and then right back on. You really are not off the throttle hardly at all in a mile.
You just give it a little breath. You see the bike skating around, and look how close Kopp and Gentleman get to the wall.
Oh, that is just unbelievable. Parker well inside that pair of riders. Look how close, too, they are to running against that rail down low, just inches. In fact, it was one year here that Davey Terrell actually smacked the wall, or the inside rail, rather, and broke his hand. Look at this. Look at this. And Parker had a notion he was going to go to the inside, just as we switched camera views there. Springfield mile action, it gets no better than this. You are going to see, if you missed race number 1, lead changes like in no other form of racing, motorcycles or automobiles. It matters not. They use the draft, they'll change the lead 3-4 times. We just saw for the first time now Kevin Atherton, rider number 23, go to the front of the pack. There's his teammate Will Davis, number 21, and right inside, down close to the rail, Kevin Barnes. He went from first all the way back to third. There's yesterday's winner, Davey Camlin, rider number 27 in fourth. Well, excuse me, maybe not fourth as they go through this corner. Yes, he's going to hold on to fourth. Behind him, number 80 was Rich King as we set the field, and then Scott Parker running sixth.
Kevin Barnes is the leader now, and you notice his motorcycle wiggle a little bit. He's got it set up real fast, so it's kind of unstable on the straightaways. It gets to be a little bit of a handful. And Barnes drops back to second place as the lead changed hands going down the straightaway. And this is a surprise or no surprise. Barnes was not a factor yesterday, but he's out here today. He's got his bike handling a little bit different. He is a factor today. I mean, you know, the subtlety of the sport becomes very apparent because one day you're up front and next day you're in the back, and it's the subtleties that make the difference.
Let's talk speeds. They're averaging over 100 miles an hour down this racetrack. What does that lead to in terms of straightaway speed and corner speed?
Well, straightaway speeds is, you know, well over 130 miles an hour, and corner speeds of probably 75 to 80 miles an hour.
Watch this again. We're on board with Scott Parker. Watch, look at the rear ends drifting out on these motorcycles. Can't keep them in a straight line, can you?
Now they're spinning coming off the turn, and they're doing everything they can to keep them in line. Scott gets in line right behind Will Davis and Kevin Barnes.
Oh, look at this. Oh, man, look at it. Sideways at in excess of 100 miles an hour, just inches off that inside rail. That's an Armco barrier.
Yeah. Scott had a notion to go by the outside there. He couldn't because he ran out of room. So he gets back in line. It's a long race in these first couple laps. You know, everybody's measuring one another.
Oh, Joe Kopp goes by Scott Parker. That's Kopp, rider number 43. Look at him work, and there's King. King comes up the inside, coming out of the corner, working the motorcycles. That's what they're doing, working the bikes. They get sideways, they get straight up and down, and they get scary. This is some of the most exciting stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's early in the race, and God, you can't count anybody out. Everybody's in this thing yet. You know, there's 10 bikes in that lead pack, and everybody's still in it.
Looking at that, over 130 miles an hour as they run by our speed camera. There's Scott Parker now running back in about the number 7 position. The lead has swapped several times. Kevin Atherton, Will Davis, Kevin Barnes, they have all been in it. Davey Camlin currently running 4th. Rich King 5th. Scratch that. Scott Parker 5th. We'll just drop King back. And here comes Jay Springsteen. That miserable start that Springer had, and now he is up with the lead group. How did he get there?
You know, the draft played a big factor in that. He picked them off one by one. I wouldn't bet him. You know, he could still lead this motorcycle race. He'll just slowly inch his way to the front.
Again, back on board with Scott Parker. We have never had video this good from an onboard camera in a dirt track. A little bit of breakup, but man, this is just spectacular. Well, excuse me.
You see it the way he sees it. You see how close to the wall he comes. You see how close to the competitors he comes. This is great coverage.
That's Kevin Barnes that you're looking at that got right down next to the rail and just took that little hitch in his get-along. Joe Kopp in the orange, 43. There's Barnes as Scott Parker uses the horsepower of the Bill Werner-tuned Harley-Davidson to pass everyone except for Jay Springsteen, who got to the inside of Parker. And Springer, on your motorcycle, Parker's spare has just taken a position away from your guy.
Yeah, it's a wide open race. Springer's a great motorcycle racer, and he's enjoying his ride on his friend's bike.
Jay Springsteen has just moved into the lead coming out of the corner, and Springer is a guy that you used to tune motorcycles for. Ladies and gentlemen, when Springer was a national champ, Bill Werner, who now tunes for Scott Parker, is the guy that built the bikes. We're going to talk a little bit more about him and what it means to you to have him out there on that motorcycle. Right now, it means that he's robbing you of some points. We'll be back with more race action. Stick with us. It's now Jay Springsteen, number 9, just passed by Kevin Atherton. Rider number 23, Davey Camlin, is in it. Will Davis is close to the front of the pack along with Scott Parker, but the guy I want to talk about is Jay Springsteen. Any thought at all about taking that motorcycle away from him after that performance in his heat race?
Well, no, you know, you wish him well. You know, you wish him maybe doing not that well, you know, but, you know, he's a great motorcycle racer, and I don't think the bike makes the guy makes the bike.
But it just is amazing to me that you loaned him this motorcycle in the midst of a title chase, and he's effectively robbing you of points as he goes back into the front of the pack.
Yeah, you still got to give, you know, the guy a break. He was down on his luck. He blew up his motorcycle. He needed a bike. He's done favors for us. I mean, we're still all in the same fraternity. This happens all the time in racing.
Well, I know that he is an old friend of yours. Camlin takes the lead. Here comes Kevin Atherton along with him. Will Davis is close. There's Parker. We're looking at 9 guys that are well within that lead pack. I know he is an old friend of yours in addition to being an ex-racer that rode for you to many, many, many national victories. And I guess someplace along the line, he probably did favors for other folks, and right now you're able to pay him back, and I, for one, am happy to see it. I don't wish you any bad luck, Bill, but I love Jay Springsteen, and so does this crowd. Jay Springsteen, the leader, and I guarantee you there are 15,000 people here. Listen to him. They love it.
Springer's been a crowd favorite. He's been a favorite of the competitors. He's a favorite of the crowd. He's just a great guy, and everybody's wishing him well right now.
Davey Camlin, yesterday's winner, and certainly riding in front of his home crowd. He's from the state of Illinois, has regained the #1 position here in race number 2. There is Springer. Here comes one of the TCR guys. They make a sandwich out of Camlin as he drops back to 3rd place. The draft continues to work here at Springfield. Jay Springsteen is the leader, 41 career victories. You saw that graphic. He earned his last one just 1 year ago. Back aboard with Scott Parker down the front chute. Whoa, is that tight. Inches apart, inches apart.
Top 3 up here. Camlin's in it, you know. It's no wonder they pack this grandstand year after year. This is the best racing you can get on mile track.
There has to be. You just saw a rider reach out and tap another one. That's the way, Bill, they signal to each other as to where they are on the track?
Exactly. They don't know where the guys on the outside are, so they just tap and let each other know that they're there so they don't run too close to the wall.
I can't think of anything more exciting than to be running at 140 miles an hour and someone reaches out and grabs your leg. 3 wide into the corner. Kevin Atherton drops back to the #2 position. Is that Joe Kopp that has taken the lead there, number 43?
Yeah, it is.
Kopp is the leader.
Yeah, he's a TT specialist from the Northwest. Harley-Davidson of Sacramento is sponsoring him this year, and he's just proven everybody that he can be an oval track competitor too.
And his mechanic is the mechanic that had for many years tuned for Chris Carr. Carr not here, for those of you that may not be aware. He is devoting 1996 entirely to road racing. Down the chute, Jay Springsteen is your leader. There's Kevin Atherton running 2nd, Joe Kopp 3rd. Scott Parker is holding 4th. Davey Camlin is 5th. I believe that's Steve Moorhead, who dropped out of yesterday's race. He's up into 3rd, and incidentally, we found out that he had an electrical problem. A coil went bad, and that's what his problem was when he had to drop out of that race. The draft going to work as Joe Kopp to the inside almost got a hold of that #1 position, but had to drop back in line.
Well, this is vintage Springer. You see those deep dives into the corner. I mean, this is shades of the 70s of fans are just seeing history repeat itself. I mean, he's running up front where he always can. I mean, he's getting a big kick out of this. The fans are getting a kick out of this, and I hope the viewers on TV are doing it also.
At the end of that straightaway, Parker would have liked to pass a couple of guys. There was nowhere to go. They were 3 wide and a quarter in front of him. He had to roll it off just a little bit. Here they come down the chute, and again, these riders just inches apart, set up to go into that corner. They're crouched over for aerodynamic purposes.
Yeah, you want to get small going down the straightaway, getting out of the wind. That's part of the race, too. Getting small,